at least for this first episode. It was very bombastic and very in your face, trying to grab you by the collar and shake you and like, hey, you want to watch this?
Yeah.
This is cool. This is
Action.
exciting.
But
Action, yes.
hi, hello, this is Jules the Human here, and welcome to the Jules the Anime Hour. I'm one of your hosts, Jules the Human, and every week we go out into the world and watch a little bit of anime, then we come back here and talk about it. And today is the first anime of season 3, and we're starting off pretty crazy with Nier Automata version 1.1A. I don't know if the version 1.1A matters or if it's the first part and maybe the second part is 1.1B, but either way, we are diving into the first 4 episodes of Nier Automata. We have so many anime to get to. We have so many anime for season 3 coming up that still need to be pulled. They're either suggested by me or Matt or by one of you in the community. And this is all season 2. We ranked all of these in season 2. Once we get Nier Automata done, we're going to have it up there and it'll be the first anime for season 3. So yeah, starting off strong with this anime, and I don't go on these anime journeys alone. I go with my co-host Matt Galley. Matt, how are you doing this week?
Doing pretty good. Doing pretty good. Really excited. Got quite a lot to say about this one for sure. Also considering that, this is, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this is the only anime that we have watched so far that is an adaptation of a video game that I have spent some time playing. I didn't beat the whole thing, but I put enough into it to where like the first 2 episodes, I'm like, oh, that's a difference. This is the same. That's a difference. And that's just been a very unique part of the watching experience for me for this one so far, for sure.
Yeah,
So definitely got a lot to say moving into this one. Not sure if pretty sure that that's gonna taper off, because this show definitely is what I would maybe say, it by comparison, if we put it on a scale, as far as the narrative goes, it's the lightest compared to how heavy its actual themes are and what it's trying to go for.
that's probably gonna change and tip over. I think they wanted you to be like, okay, here's some concepts here, and let's rock with it. Okay, if you made it past episode 10, we're pulling it out. We're doing this. But that's good to know. I didn't know you played any of the game. So I'm coming from it as well, putting in maybe 8 hours, 10 hours of the game, maybe. Hello, Cosmo. Is that Papi Jules and Zaddy Galley with another anime review? Yes, we were talking about Nier Automata, the anime adaptation. Say hello if you're in the live chat. We see you. Thank you so much for watching live. But I also do gotta say, yes, we both, I guess, have played both of them. We both have played the game, so it's not really, I don't know. I do want to see what people think if this is your first time going into this world, and like what you thought and what, like, some expectations and stuff. But let's get into episode 1, or not to be. What happens in episode 1 of Nier Automata?
In a cold opening, we see our main character, 2B, striding through a desolate battle zone while holding the body of her companion, 9S, pondering how long she must exist in such a world. After the opening, we see 2B get orders to find a Goliath-class weapon after the rest of her squad gets wiped out on the surface of the Earth, planning to meet up with 9S, who is already on site. 9S has been busy hacking the base's defenses before getting the order to link up with 2B, using his flying unit to scout the area. 9S displays much more enthusiasm and inquisitiveness compared to 2B's cold demeanor. Stumbling upon the Goliath-class weapon, 9S and 2B have their backs to the wall as 9S uploads the memory unit of 2B back to command, going on to use their black boxes to create a detonation so powerful it wipes out all Goliath-class weapons. Aboard the space station, 2B and 9S are both recreated, their bodies reconstructed as they are androids. 2B continues to have her memories thanks to 9S, but he has no memory of their actions after rendezvousing.
Womp womp. So starts us off running. They don't explain anything here. Episode 1 is kind of like, okay, here's what's going on, and you have to jump on. This is a moving train. And we've seen some of that before in the past in other animes that we watched on the show. Um, I don't know if I fully love that sort of way of starting off a show. I do like showcasing some action in the beginning, but like, what are your thoughts on this way of starting a show with episode one being like, let's go, here we are, no time to explain, we're doing the thing, versus sort of long explanation, I'm here in this other world or whatever? Because sometimes with that part, it does kind of get like a little boring if
Yeah.
it starts off like super
Exactly.
explaining.
You don't want the huge, spanning Star Wars crawl. Like I'm just
Yeah.
not like that's just not something that is generally
In a
great
world.
or interesting in storytelling because of the whole concept of show don't tell. Like that's
Yeah.
really big, especially in anime. And I think that this show does enough small things that if you're actually paying attention, it's building itself up pretty well with certain interactions, like how 9S sees a machine pouring oil on another machine, and he
Mhm.
like scoffs and laughs at it. He's like, "You can pour as much oil as you want. I think it's not coming back to life." And it's showing the Earth that, like, before we've even gotten his name, I think that he is definitely of this superiority factor compared to the machines, the machine life forms, even though they're androids. On the inside, they are arguably exactly the same, but it's this shell that they are embodying that might be giving him this sense of superiority, and that can all just be received from that like one tiny bit right there.
Isn't
And
that like how we humans
and you
are we
also get
all the same in the side? And then some people just anyways.
the idea that 2B has their entire squadron wiped out for this, search and destroy mission. But High Command is just like, nope, you march right in there by yourself. I don't care if the whole squad's wiped out. We're not pulling you out. You got to get in there
And
and do
there's
the
like,
thing.
yeah, and in the beginning, there's like this monologue sort of about the fake world and the lies that are here in this world. And to sort of start that off, I do like that, where it's like, what are you talking about? Like, what do you mean? What kind of world is it?
So
And we
immediately it puts us in a case where we're here to kind of question and try to, not poke holes, but like never take anything at its face value, moving into this narrative. We know it's going to be a narrative full of lies and deception, betrayal, backstabbing, like all these things are probably on the table for what's going to happen. So I feel like starting it off after that, then we get into it, and just having all those tiny hints of what's to come be planted,
it feels
is a
like
good way of handling it.
it's subtle, but it's not subtle. Like I feel like it is, but like it's bonking you over the head with it sometimes. And I'm like, I see it, bro. I see it. I see what you're doing. Like, okay. Um, First off, looks really good. I mean, the animation looks cool. Like
Hmm.
whenever it's animation with 2B doing her thing, whatever in this episode, great. And then some parts of it,
The CG
the CG stuff with
just
the
kind of clashes,
Goliath, it's not
and the flying
as
units.
seamless. And I think this did come out at the same time as Trigun, and it feels just not cohesive. And
Hmm.
it's like,
Not cohesive is a good way of putting it. It
what's
feels like two art styles kind of like clashing against each other, because one is very like industrial and rigid and lifeless, to be honest, and the other, it feels like it has that flow of animation, with the colors and the just the flow of the general movement, in my
Mhm.
opinion. But then we get some of the CG stuff, and I mean, I feel as though moving forward, it kind of like became less and less apparent for me. But this early on, especially in this first episode, it did catch me off guard, and I was like, I'm still kind of left scratching my head, wondering if I do wholly like it or not. I can say that I definitely like you were saying, when it's like 2B or 9S, when it's definitely hand drawn animation. But the second we get into the CG stuff, I I find a question mark over my head a little bit for sure. It's not
Yeah.
outright bad, but it's just not as good as the hand drawn stuff is.
And it's very noticeable. It doesn't blend in, I don't think. So I think part of it is the time it could have taken to blend in, or I don't know how to make them this two styles more similar together, where because like in Trigun, like that looks sort of CG anyway, a little bit more CG than Nier Automata is wholly like the art style. So maybe that CG stuff could have worked better in Trigun than it does here, because this, whenever it's done right, it feels like so lived in. Like we go through the mission with 2B. Her mission is to destroy the Goliath class weapon, and we meet 9S, who is the boy android, the scout android there. And they meet this, or they go and fight a bunch of stuff. So like all of this area as she's walking through, one, very similar to the game, where I'm like,
Yeah.
I think I know this room. Like
Yep.
this is pretty much the game to start with.
It
And
was
I'm like,
very similar to the game, and the way the like its action sequences are very condensed compared to the game for sure.
yeah.
And that's another thing where like the clashing of the art styles almost kind of like gave me a reminiscence of like how in the game you have a clashing of gameplay styles, because the
Yeah.
game goes from like a top-down shooter to a side-scrolling shooter to the now you're 3D full action, now it's a 2D platforming action, and it's just like it's all over the place, at least in its first mission. And it kind of gave me like, you know, that vibe where it's just like every second something different is happening and the story is developing through the action taking place on screen, and
Mm-hmm.
not so much the dialogue between the characters, which like we've had some pretty great anime that's given us some pretty great dialogue that's essentially the entire like momentum of the narrative. But I do feel a little bit refreshed to be watching something where it's like there's action and there's words and then there's a few words and then there's more action,
Mm-hmm.
and like at least for this first episode it was very bombastic and very in your face, trying to grab your attention, grab you by, you know, the collar and shake you and like, hey, you want to watch this,
Yeah.
this is cool, this is
Action.
exciting
But
action, yes. but
to
but
be
uh
but.
but again, it sets that initial tone of hey, this is going to be, not everything is going to appear as it seems, it's not actually going to be as it seems.
Yeah, and the action was great. I mean, again, the big spinny saw thing that she fights is just like in the game. The room with all the enemies that she fights is just like the game.
The little
Um,
robot companion that follows you, the little
uh,
machine gun guy.
love that guy. I have him on my spoiler. Well, I don't know if I want to spoil. There's some way to get him in Final Fantasy 14, and I
uh,
have him as my guy. Um, I liked the intro song. The intro song had some very chill vibes.
yeah.
Black and White City was okay, but the song was really good. I really enjoyed the song for using it as the intro. Um, there was non-enemy machine. So even in episode 1, they're showing us like something's happening here. There's something where we're being told, and what from what we know at the start, that 2B and 9S are on a mission to kill these machines that are here on Earth. I don't think they go into really why, or a lot of details here, but they are even inquisitive about these aren't attacking us. Like, what's this about? What's going on? So them questioning it also gets us to question it as well, because
Because
that seems like
9S starts
something.
to get into like, hey, like they've never been reported to have like sleep patterns, blah blah blah. But then 2B is very quick to be like, hey 9S, is this necessary to complete the mission?
Yeah,
And let's just work into quiet, work in the silence. He's just like,
it's better to work
oh,
in
I'm
silence.
sorry. He's like,
Mhm.
hey, I've never worked with somebody before. This is pretty exciting.
Yeah,
He-
9S
He's
doesn't get any
bonding and
partners. He has a lot of emotions. He likes to be. They do talk about there's going along with what you're saying. There's no meaning behind anything machines do. 9S is sort of
A machine
the
nihilist.
yeah, the machine nihilist to the world, showing us what the world wants everyone to see, that there's no meaning behind these machines, they have no emotion, they have no reason, they attack, they kill, and we got to kill them before they kill all of humanity. Huge Goliath here, insane, really cool stuff. I remember this guy from the game as well. One thing that did take me out in this first episode. Love the action, like you're saying, the action, words, whatever. I don't know what it was. The pacing was a little all over the place.
Yeah.
Just from it was just like,
Yeah.
and then bits of
Because big explosion, and that, you know, they even do the whole, they do, when he defeats the arm with his flying unit, hits it with the rockets, it showcases the flying unit kind of like grab the arm real quick with some sort of like I don't know, technological telekinesis,
circle,
something. Yeah,
yellow
circle,
circle.
yellow circle, grabs it and sets it down. And then, you know, later on, we get it being used again in a key point in the fight against the final boss. So that's again, the show, it doesn't really want to spend a lot of time explaining things to you. It just wants to be able to show you the cool, exciting things and have them happen. And in this first episode, the pacing, I don't know if I'd say it's all over the place compared to that. It's just like pedal to the, you know, metal for the whole thing. It's just like we're gonna hit the ground hard and we're just gonna keep it ramped up,
I
and that feels jarring. But I
Yeah, I
don't
think
think it's like
mainly
all over the place. I think it's just like so fast.
I think it was with like what they had to do to kill this thing. Like one, they kill it like they kill the Goliath really quickly, and it's like, oh, okay. I thought it was going to be this huge drawn out fight, and then it's this other thing, and then it becomes more with the three, and both of our main characters are down, and I'm like, what's happening? There's like it is action packed, but I think for me, I thought going into it, it would just be one drawn out fight. All right, we defeated him, or all right, he's dead. And it's like these little parts that are broken up, and I'm like, okay, cool.
Mhm.
I'm on the train. It's a little weird. I don't know.
And that's where I
Um,
think it may be like possibly shooting itself in the foot by trying to stick so close to how the first stage of the game kind of plays out. Because
mhm.
again, that's kind of how the first stage plays out, where it's just throwing you into encounter after encounter. There's, you know,
I definitely think
radio chatter going on, but at the same time, you are just speeding through the first stage, like downing a huge Goliath boss in the first mission.
I gotta say, I like watching the anime more because I can actually pay attention to what's the story that they're trying to tell me. Because during the game, shit is crazy. I'm like,
It's just, yeah.
just dodging these little balls that are just being thrown at me. I'm like weaving, and I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm trying to
Yep.
concentrate. I'm
Oh
trying to
man,
hear the story, but I can't. So I do enjoy
more
watching the anime.
parallels to be
Yeah,
drawn.
true. Yeah. The Goliath talks. So we see here talking Goliath there. Um, and they, I think it's 2B, talking about the androids being trapped in a life and death cycle. 9S uploads 2B's consciousness or memories up. He doesn't upload his, so he doesn't remember 2B. And I forgot about this because I did watch the first episode a long time ago. The puppets after the credits. Um, I
I watched all of those.
I watch all those as well. It's just silly, and I'm okay with it. It's really funny. Like even in an episode coming up, there's like multiple scenes of like paper mache or movement, and it's like, okay, that's cool. And the puppets were fun. In this one, they were talking about the multiple endings of the game. So it's fun. It's cool. It's weird. And I think Nier Automata has grown a fan base to like embrace the weirdness. So it's pretty on brand, I think.
I definitely like how, yeah, they say we're going to use these puppets to recreate all the different endings of the game, and they do it in some super silly weird way, and then it gives like a line of text that actually describes like shorthand what the ending was supposed to be.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, this is the one where everybody dies. Like
Ooh,
this is the one where this happens.
it's Cosmo says very galley Jules brain. Yeah, it's very weird, and we love the weird. It's totally, I'm totally cool with it. Nier Automata episode 2, City Escape. What happens in episode 2?
The commander of the Yorha, advanced androids being used as frontline soldiers to battle the machine life forms that drove humanity off the planet, delivers exposition on the state of the world. We move into the episode with information on what appears to be the beliefs of the machine life forms. Believing that a god rose out of a volcano and gave them all of their functions. We see a rebooted machine life form reject the realities of the world around it and dive into its own curiosities, literature, and gardening. Lily, the commander of the ground resistance against the machine life forms, is introduced after seeing Tubi is introduced. And after seeing 2B and 9S receive orders from the commander to link up with the resistance and find the reason that their liaison has disappeared. More on the machines as we learn they value treasures, and each treasure has a different shape. And the ground resistance is attacked by a horde of machine life forms, with the gardener bot becoming another casualty as 2B and 9S arrive to save the resistance, Lily seeming to know 2B.
Brother, I liked episode 2 way more than episode 1. I think, like, exactly what you're saying. I think it was shooting itself in the foot with trying to do the first levels one for one to the game to get people in there. But once they started expanding the story in their own way, because we get this same sort of information a little bit, just in a different way in the game. And I
Yes.
like this telling of it with the little puppets as well, and then following the one robot here. So we learn that in 5012 AD, the world was invaded by aliens. Machines almost killed humanity. Humanity went to the moon. Yorha exists to break the stalemate of this war that's been happening to try and get Earth back from these machines. There's a montage of them making themselves. They have the joy of learning that is fulfilled by the machines. We see a machine reading and picking up a flower, like the flower that he has for his bookmark, and like curious, and his eyes change to yellow as he assesses the emotion matrix. So we go on this long journey of this little robot guy, and I'm like, this is beautiful cinema. Like
Cinema.
literally, it's literally just cinema. I love it. I love this little
Yes.
guy.
Because it's like the game being set from the perspective of 2B as you, the player, experiencing the narrative and the gameplay exclusively from her perspective.
Mhm.
The show takes its foot off the gas and decides, let's give a little perspective to the other factions that are at play, being perspective into the humanoid, what's the specific term they use for them, the machine life forms, and then the ground resistance group, which I'm pretty sure are androids. I don't think that gets really touched
I
on. And
think that was the question too, and Kaylin is watching it at the same time, or watching it for the first time as well, and then she was like, "Are they androids or are they humans?" And I was like, I think they're a mix of them, but then they also say like fellow androids at one point. So
exactly.
like I think
And
they're
there's allusions that
androids
some of them have been fighting for like a very long time.
for thousands of years or something. So are they just more androids that are fighting for humans? We never see the human. I have a theory. Let's okay, whatever. I want to talk a lot about the end or at the end of the show about like thoughts because this is a lot and we don't get a whole lot of answers to our questions. Um there, yeah, I put down humans or androids in the city. New character human Lily, uh possibly human, possibly android. Lily on Earth fighting for humanity. She's the leader, so she gives she explains to 2B and 9S about what's going on, how the previous liaison is gone. They don't know where she's at. the enemies attack the resistance, and the red-eyed robots kill the robots that were planting flowers. So we see during this whole episode just this compassion, emotion, curiosity, whatever you want to call it, the yellow eyes pass on to multiple robots in the city. And then these red-eyed robots just take them out. So we know
And it's
now
like,
that there
I don't think
is
it was like
a division.
hostility, but it was just like, you are in our way of our function, of our objective.
I think it is.
And so we're not, we're not going to create a sweeping path around you. You're supposed to turn and join us. So we just
And you're
stomp over
not.
anything that's in our way.
Yeah, I definitely don't think it was pointed at them specifically, but you are correct. I do think it was like, get out of our way. You're supposed to join. You're one of us. Or they could just go for any life form, anybody that's in our way. We're gonna plow through to get to these beings. So that was
Is
very
their
sad.
objective, like when the one bot reboots, it looks at like a dead body on the ground, and it's like a little thing flashes, and it says "Destroy all dolls."
Destroy all dolls.
So these humanoid, I keep forgetting the term, these
Yorha? Well, they're
machine
not.
life forms just see all these, like, human and human-like beings as dolls, not as, they're not considered life,
Mm-hmm.
which is probably how the aliens like programmed them, question mark. There's just so many questions, man.
And I didn't finish the game either. So, and I've kept away from the ending because I don't want to know what it ultimately was. I've been in this mystery this whole time because I actively like, no, I don't want to know. This will be so much more fulfilling when I either finish the game or now possibly finish the anime. So I don't know what it is, and that's why it's so much fun because there's so many questions. Because at a point, the yellow-eyed robot, he falls down the goddamn ravine, and his eyes turn green. What does it mean when he's looking at the flower, but he gets killed in the explosion? And it's like, oh, what are we doing? What is this? We're supposed to
Yep,
have compassion for this character, and it succeeded. I think it was insane.
I
Uh,
agree.
Lily knows to be, and they're questioning if the Council of Humanity sent the Yorha or not. We still don't really know here in this time period right now, but yeah, this was full of emotion. It was crazy to do that in episode 2 and have us feel this compassion for these machines, and I think that does not let up towards the
Yeah.
end.
It
So
almost like is a mini vignette of something along the lines of To Your Eternity, with the orb, turning into the animal, then, gaining the ability to feel pain, and et cetera, et cetera. It's like this robot just kind of like spontaneously comes back, and, like you said, it begins to explore that emotion matrix, and it's just like, what are we doing? What are
I
we here
thought y'all
for?
were the
What's
bad
the
guys.
point?
We're
What's the point?
humanity. I thought you killed all of humanity, maybe. Episode 3, break time. What happens in episode 3?
Lily leads the group back to the resistance camp, and 2B and 9S are greeted and haggled with not a moment into arriving. We are introduced to Jackass as the resident mad scientist and eccentric. And then on the space base, we see the commander speak about the resistance being used as decoys for the Yorha. Jackass reveals information that unique signals are coming from the nearby desert, and 2B and 9S, having been tasked to check out the desert, offer their assistance, teaming up with Jackass. 9S continues to showcase that he sees the machine life forms as nothing but pieces of metal that are mimicking human speech and just saying random words. Jackass chases after a bot that appears to be showing fear, leading the group to a graveyard of androids where 2B and 9S get sucked into the ground, then finding what turns out to be a cocoon for an advanced machine life form that has the appearance of an android. They kill it, but another one appears from the first, causing a cave-in.
I like that and I don't even think in the game, because I did try and find it. I don't think we ever have uh a reason for why she's called Jackass, and I'm totally okay with that. Just her name, Jackass, that's what it is.
Lily and Jackass, both not in the game. There's a
Jackass
different.
was
Are you sure? In the game?
in
Maybe I
the
didn't get far enough to meet them then.
oh, okay. It was in the desert area.
I never got to the desert area.
Okay.
I met the resistance, and that was like, and then did some more exploring in the city, and then uh the game just at that time wasn't really what I wanted to play, so I ended up dropping it for that reason.
Yeah.
Haven't gotten back around to it, but I distinctly remember the commander being named something different. Not that that necessarily matters, just I remember
Yeah.
that.
I know the okay, so we're at the resistance camp, right? It looks just like the game. It's so cool. And the same characters and the dudes that are trying to sell
The
her
vendors.
stuff. The vendors, I'm like, that's the dude that I bought my weapon from. Cool, whatever. It's great. I love all that. And the music. The music is straight from the game. I'm like, oh, it's
There
like
was
take me back.
when they were going out to the desert, the way the Lily put on music at the jukebox, and it started off kind of like all muffled and distorted because it's playing on an old jukebox. But the second it like there was a cut to be in the back of the van, then it had full clarity, and I was like, whoa! It's like I wasn't expecting that one.
Yeah, it's really good. But yeah, I think in the game, in the desert areas where you meet Jackass, and even then, I was like, "You're not going to explain that to me. You're just going to say, hey, I'm Jackass, whatever." I'm like, "Okay, whatever. That's cool."
Okay, that's great.
Um,
I love that.
this this 2B and 9S coming to the resistance camp was not an answer to the request from the Council of Humanity. So jot that down. Council of Humanity was like, nope, we're not. This is because of my own thing. So the commander calls the resistance decoy. So we already see some nefarious things, and it continues in episode 4 where the commander's just like, yo, we got to break some eggs to make an omelet. And this omelet is the safety of humanity and getting Earth back. So the resistance camp, your yolk's gone.
Yorha androids.
Pretty much. So anything, it doesn't matter because Commander is thinking big picture, and it's always
With
super believable.
perspective.
Yeah, you got a different perspective. It is believable because we've met those sort of types in other stuff. We met people like that in real life, and even though it sucks, like, is the commander in the right here? I don't know, man. I mean, I guess it is debatable because
It's
they're
debatable, especially where things end at it with episode 4.
sure.
It all becomes debatable, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
everything is pretty much because right now the commander's like, yo, a, a group of people, a group of these robots here, it's fine. We can make more. But this is to further moves on the chessboard. And if we got to lose a pawn here or there, it's fine. We're trying to get checkmate. So that's kind of where the commander's coming from. We meet Jackass. She's obsessed with science and technology. Love her character. Love them. So good. So much fun. 9S ends up hacking the big robot in the desert when they go ahead and fight. The robot has possibly memory or emotional memory or something like that. So that's another thing to put down on the board of robots doing some weird stuff. The previous liaison is dead, and there's an underground cavern made up of machines with a giant ball in the middle. And this was really funny because in the game as well, they have the little robots doing human things, quote unquote. And one of them's like, they're like trying to do it. And I remember in the game too, I'm like, are they doing it? It's so good that they added that and they like made that a focus because that
There's
was
even like
literally
there's even like one line of chatter that was just like boobies, yes.
yeah,
It's like,
something
oh my
like that.
god.
I was like, what are they doing? And then they all join up. This cannot continue. This cannot continue. So many machines, and then a machine is born, is made. We see right before they're doing it. They form. bunch of machines form, and then out comes this thing, and then he is reborn or made anew, or his brother. And then it goes to after credits, puppets riding on animals. So this was a wild, this was a wild episode. I love it. I love what's happening. This is so weird, and so many things are being
Hmm.
brought up, like in my head.
If
Like, what
if
is
I had
this?
known this is what was going to take place in the desert of the game, I would have probably stuck it out. But like
I feel that.
the weirdness takes. I feel like it's definitely took its time to present itself in the game, and it wanted to. But you know, that's a part of the experience
Mhm.
in the gameplay format where it wants you to take the time to dismantle so many of these robots, and then all these questions start to pop up, and you're like, wait a second,
It does
am
take
I
a
the
lot
bad
longer.
guy?
Yeah, like,
But
wait.
this in the show, everything, because it's a, you know, it's a show and I'm just sitting and watching and the narrative's being delivered to me, and I don't have to have those gameplay moments between the deliveries of the narrative. I feel like it's gotten me way more wrapped up and involved and invested than the game was able to do.
No, for sure, because I even think the game is made for you not to play it through once, but to continue playing through it multiple times because things change, or I don't even know because I haven't finished it for the first time. Everybody has talked about, yeah, on my fifth time I did this thing. And I'm like, what are you talking about? It's one game and you're going to do it. But like, yes, the first time through, it does take its time, like a lot of time in between, a lot of time to get to the desert. That's when it picked up. I was like, "Oh man, we're doing something here. What's going on?" Because I was lost in that resistance area, the
That's
resistance camp.
what's probably feel like that's why I ended up turning it off. I feel like it kind of like my brain wasn't getting enough stimulation through
Nah, yeah,
that
you're right.
area. It was a little too calm, a little too peaceful.
Mhm.
I was just like, I'm just running around fucking grass
That's
buildings.
valid.
What's going on?
Yeah, it was a while, and then it's like, okay, here we are. Here's some big moments, and then once these Adam and Eve, as we notate them in episode 4, that's when it picks up, and I'm like,
Especially in a game off the back of the first stage, going into that first open area, it's a very jarring shift.
yeah,
And you know, I think I wanted something more like a Metal Gear Rising Revengeance,
sure,
where it's just like hard rock song, big enemies, boom, boom, the whole time, and it
yeah,
didn't give me that, and so I was like, oh, it's fine.
it's fine.
Maybe another time. But yeah, I just and also this is probably where my game comparison is going to end because I haven't made it farther than this at all. But definitely enjoying the way the show's able to deliver the story to me.
Yeah, I do like, and I probably do prefer it to the game because of, like we said before, being able to take ourselves out of it and see the other perspective and go into somebody else's, the commander. We get like solo stuff of the commander talking over with her high command, and like some of that stuff was only portrayed through 2B's first person
Perspective.
perspective. So
Mhm.
it's like it's really nice the way they do the story because we can take detours and not just focus on 2B, who in the game isn't the most interesting character to be attached to. Like, there's not a whole lot going on, so I can vouch for it being a lot on your first playthrough, but this is the best way to do it. So I do commend them as well, like you, on the way they're telling their story because it's really nice. Episode 4, A Mountain Too High. What happens in episode 4?
We see many machine life forms that are sitting in a theater enjoying a performance with androids bound and strung up as well. 2B and 9S debrief with Lily. Then we see the commander take orders from the Council of Humanity on the moon, the commander seeming to be upset with the way they are deciding to intentionally put Yorha androids in harm's way. 2B and 9S receive their new orders, and they arrive at an amusement park where a black box signal has been detected. They engage in a fight with a bot that repeatedly says claims that they will become beautiful. And after defeating said robots, 9S in cold blood takes out two yellow-eyed machine life forms, telling 2B that they cannot hesitate.
Bro, he really neared those automata.
Nier got automata on that one.
Kind of crazy. Open up with the machines having a play, machines in the audience. They are something's happening, man. And I don't know, man. It's like so odd, but in the coolest way, because we do see these other vignettes of the machines doing things. They're in the play. I thought they were attacking each other. They're on the stage. I didn't know it was a stage, and it was like they're attacking. It's like, no, he's reciting Shakespeare or something. And it's like, whoa. And he has a sold out house, and it's great. They're having the time of their lives. The war has raged on for thousands of years. Something interesting that we hear from the commander to the Yorha, higher. Who do we say? Was it the Humanity Council
The
or
Council
whatever?
of Humanity.
When they're talking, and when she's talking, the commander, she's saying that, or the council is telling her that Adam and Eve are embedded into the plan of Project Yorha. That this is all.
Everything's going according to plan, apparently.
What does that mean? What do you mean? You knew this was going to happen, and now we just have 2B and 9S in this, and it's like, yeah, this is going exactly how it's supposed to. Just keep eyes on it. What do you mean?
And they hit her with, that word, that almighty word. We have to operate with the perspective that we have, and something along the lines of, you should know you're also burdened with this. And the commander seems clearly, visibly, like, upset, unnerved by those words, doing their salute and then balling up their hand into a fist after the call disconnects. So it's nice that we get this stoic commander figure, but it's also like, now there's a nuance of they're taking orders from somebody and they don't necessarily agree with it. But like the show in episode 1, 9S states, we are soldiers. We are meant to fulfill our orders.
And sacrifices are necessary.
And sacrifices are necessary, like you were saying. In order to make an omelet, gotta crack some eggs. In order to check a king, gotta sacrifice some pawns.
I hate to say it, but after just watching Severance not too long ago, pretty close to Severance. This is kind of what's going on with Miss Cobell and the higher ups. She never sees them. She hears them over like a loudspeaker, and it's like, who are you? Like, what are you talking about? A lot of Severance vibes. All I'm saying. Something interesting that they show here is they're launching supplies from the Earth to the moon, and they spend a lot of time on that. And I kind of want to get.
They spend enough time for it to become a
thoughts.
question, yeah, because they even have 9S kind of give the exposition to be on that, like, oh, you didn't know? We send rockets from the surface of the planet because there's not enough materials to operate on the space stations or on the moon. And the 9S or 2B replies with, why don't the aliens directly attack that base, the bunker? And then 9S is like, I don't know how aliens work. I don't know how they think.
I don't know how
And then
they
we just
think.
move on. And like, that's a good answer to that question for sure. But it definitely begs the question, like, yeah, is this a war? Like, is this a war, or is this just some guy's science experiment? It pulls the narrative into what could be cosmic, like, horror territory, where it's like there are beings out there operating on a scale so high and so far out of like what our concept of reality could be, that they just plopped their science experiment down here on Earth and said, let's see what happens, and then took off, and they're going to come back in 2 millennia. Like, who knows? Who knows? Like, did anybody meet the aliens? Did anybody see that happen? Like, what is the account of the, because like, yeah, it's happened over thousands of years, and it gets to a point where let's take their belief system as granted. It's like, what if the humanoid, I keep forgetting what they're at,
Machine
the
life forms.
machine life forms, what if they are the next step of evolution on this planet? Because we keep talking about how they're evolving so rapidly, they're becoming, we see them developing emotions, developing borderline sentience. We see them using terms like big brother and big sister and mom and beautiful. What if they were once just guinea pigs of an experiment, but now their evolution has brought them to a point where they can operate with sentience and with reason. And if we have been fighting them for over the course of thousands of years at this point, is it ethically right to keep fighting that fight based on what they were? Or have they now become something that we can now negotiate with and find common ground
But
with?
nobody's willing to do that. That's
What if
not
you
what
got a
they're
bunch of
programmed for.
9S's running around?
You're not programmed to do it. You're not programmed for that. It's a lot. There's a lot. And I definitely want to hit more of that stuff. But they're gonna go investigate a different Yorha, and apparently the Yorha and the Resistance didn't get along in the past. So that was even something where there was some contention there that are supposed to be on the same side, or it could be something bigger than that. I don't know. There's a robot parade in the new amusement park area. They're all
Oh, and
friendly.
the 9S and 2B directly try to ask their bots, like, hey, what's up with any sort of conflict between the Resistance and the Yorha? And they immediately are just like, oh, files restricted, no
Yeah.
access. And it's
What's
like,
that
okay,
about?
so something's there, but we don't know what.
What are we doing? They head to the stage. We had the big unit lady fight. Loved her. She's great. I died a bunch here on this level because it was insane. I was like watching 2B fight. I'm like, that's pretty much how it was. I was like, it's relentless. I died so many times there. It was insane. Fun fight. Great music. I think it was the music from that level. And when it hit, when she does this whole thing right here, oh my god. I was
It
ready.
does feel like the opening cutscene to a boss fight for sure. And even the
Yeah.
way like her attacks are utilized, like you can just imagine what it would be like to fight that fight. Like, oh, here's a bunch of explosive orbs. You'd have
You
to
can't
dodge and
imagine
dive
it.
around and not get hit. Oh, now she becomes a spinning top with blades on her and she's bouncing all around the arena. Got to make sure you're recognizing where she's going to bounce to next, et cetera, et cetera.
You don't know. You don't know the pain.
I don't.
You don't know the hours. You cannot comprehend.
Was she your Margit?
Yeah. It was very difficult. It was a lot of fun though. Yeah, like you're saying, the running around really quick and all of that stuff. I was like, that's her. Those are her moves. That's cool. That's super dope. So all that to say, it's
The
definitely
fans have been
for
serviced.
fan service. Yes, definitely for the people that have played the game, and it is really cool to see the thing that you played animated there. The robot wants to become beautiful and keeps asking, am I beautiful? And uses the androids as adornments. She does have a core, like we saw with the Goliath class in the first episode. So this core has some sort of power that makes them bigger or makes their aura bigger. We don't really know the
They
answer to
said something like it's an abnormal. They use a specific term for it,
that.
but I don't think they used it on the Goliath class one.
She has emotions, we think, because of the 9S hack that's happening. Sort of having some conversations there. She asks if she's beautiful. She says, and I don't know why. It's just maybe because it's the like uncanny valley and the AI and the robots in our world and all that thought. Whenever she's like saying, whenever robots in the show have been saying like "help me" or like "kill me" or something like it triggers something in me, man. It's a little weird. It's just kind of weird. Like she
It is
goes from
weird
help me, but in the robot voice, and then kill me. It's like, it's weird. So it's definitely hitting that nerve for me.
because at the same
Um,
time it's trying to kill them, and it's like, what do you want?
trying to
Why? Why?
assimilate.
Why is it so? why is it so seemingly like it's trying to fight against the programming or nature of itself? Why is that
Yes.
happening?
Trying to assimilate 9S in this part, and she's continuously saying, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, that this is not what I want, but my body's doing it. What is that? What is that about? I think it was 9S that or 2B or somebody, they say that the core of these is similar to a plant cell. That that's something. There it's like
That's
so
definitely
many
something.
little notes on the board here, and just add that one
Because
to it.
plant cells compared to animal cells can like sustain themselves on but from external means, sunlight,
So
photosynthesis. Is that
yeah,
what it's trying to say? Is it the way that they copy themselves, or
I think
like
yes, definitely. Well, okay, one last quick thing at the end. 9S is adamant about them not having emotions. We see the big lady robots, child and husband or whatever, or possibly, I don't know if they were like their husband or something, but it's like, please, like pleading to 9S, like, please don't, like all this stuff. 9S just takes him out, and that hurt. That's weird. It
yeah?
hurts.
Because you have 9S that has this
They just
like
came to watch the play.
directive, yeah, that has this like directive that no humanoid life forms have sentience. They are not human. They are not android. They are pieces of machinery that operate with the intent to kill. But then we've seen an example of a bot get frightened and in that moment say, I'm scared. And then
Oh,
again say like, whoops, like oopsie daisy, like showcase like that it made an oopsie. And it's just when he says things like they just say random words, but then you have bots that are saying things that are very applicable to the context of their current situation. There's a disconnect there
yeah. Like, no,
where
no,
it
no.
just watched them kill all the big bot, and then it's pleading to not hurt specifically this bot standing right here behind me. Please don't. Please
But
not
Matt,
this bot. Please no.
they're just saying random words that they've heard before. The robots, the machine life forms are just saying random words, like 9S is telling us. My theory, my big theory, because again, we have not played the game to the end. We do not know what the actual thing is about, what the big reveal is really want to know. My theory is that one, the big one, there are no humans left. I think that's almost the elephant in the room that we don't want to admit, but everything alludes to no humans being left. Um, my thought, but also that like the plant, yes, I think it was humans that uh ultimately ended humanity for some reason by making this other being. And I do think that these robots are the rudimentary versions of the Yorha that have evolved many times over, and they don't know that. With the whole uh, plant comparison, I do think these robots are Yorha, and it just got high enough to be like, hey, we heard this thing, and then it's been going on for whatever. So that's what I'm thinking. Could be.
Humans are dead. There are no aliens. The bots were actually created by humans. Yeah. I think that's where I'm at. But like I was saying, I'm definitely open to the idea of it getting super just expansive in its scope and making the
Because
aliens a big deal.
yeah, because then what is the Adam and Eve? Like,
Yeah.
what are they? Are they Yorha? Are they the next evolution of Yorha, or are they human? Well, we did see them grow
All
skins.
these lies and deceit. When will
Yeah,
it end? When will it end?
we should make little puppets of Matt and Jill of us too. Just be like, hey, what's up?
Oh my
Our brain
god.
hurts.
That's again where I say this show has been probably, in my opinion, my estimation so far, the most narratively light, but like thematically complex,
Yeah.
interweaving, like heavy that we've done so far.
Because they don't have
Because
to say a whole lot in the
with
robots.
everything that they're showing, they
Yeah,
don't have
with
to
the
say a whole
robot
lot.
pleading for its life, and then Nina saying like, "No, it just picked up English from it's what it's heard," and that is not a whole lot of sentences, but that says paragraphs. That speaks just.
Speaks volumes.
It's
Yes.
insane. It's so crazy. Are you enjoying it?
I am enjoying it after episode 4. Again, the first episode had me in a place where I was like, if this is just going to be a beat for beat of the like the levels, the stages, but like it's shown that it's willing to expand outside of the narrative composition that the game offered, and that's when I was like, I'm on board because again, it was like just I'm a little iffy on watching the show just because I remember playing the game. The game didn't really keep my attention. That's
Sure.
not the best sign, but I am finding myself to be pleasantly surprised with the questions that it is offered, and yeah, the thematic complexity that has already sent me on a existential spiral on by watching just these 4 episodes alone,
Pretty
because
much.
usually it takes a lot longer for me to get there. Usually it's that the episode 10 mark when the shows start to hit that ground.
That's
um
why I'm like, there's 24, right? There's 24 episodes. Like, I feel like we got through a pretty big chunk of the game already. What else is there? Unless I just wasn't even close
like
to what
like
I thought I was
like all the
done.
people that you saw saying you play through the game multiple times, and the show is eventually going to be like, oh, episode 1 again, but told
Mm,
differently.
that'll be
I
crazy.
don't know. Are
Um,
you enjoying it? How do you
I
feel so
am.
far?
Yeah, I enjoyed it like you. It was a little weird. And that might be why I stopped watching it on episode 1 the last time I tried when it was coming out
Hmm,
week to
hmm.
week. I could have been like this CGI stuff. I could have been like, I don't know. I'm not gonna wait for a week. I forgot about it. So yeah, I do enjoy it. Now that I gotta say, now that I played the game, it is a lot more enjoyable than I think I would have if I didn't. But I do enjoy the story and the way that they're telling it, and that I can catch everything that's going on. I'm not the one that's has
You
a
don't have to
controller in
read
my hand.
emails. You don't have to go find get the little codex of information that talks about the humans leaving Earth. It's
Exactly.
all it's all here.
I ain't
Go
reading
ahead,
all that, but
take all you want.
good job, good luck, or I'm sorry. I ain't reading all that, but I'm sorry the humanity died or whatever. I ain't reading it. Um, so next week,
Real.
before the show next week on Thursday, make sure to watch episode 5 through 8 of Nier Automata version 1.1A. We're gonna be talking about that. We would love your thoughts. Let us know in the live chat or in the comments on YouTube later on. Matt, when you're not nearing that automata, where can they find you on the internet?
You can follow me on my socials at it's Matt_Galley on Instagram and Threads, where I just be posting around.
Just
You can
be
also follow
yapping.
me on my YouTube. Just make it at Matt_Galley. Jules, when we're not here nearing the automata, where can the people find you?
Find me on all social media at Jules the Human, at Jules
Jules.
the Human, at JULES the Human on all social media. I've been on Threads a whole lot talking about comics and Star Trek. You can subscribe to this podcast on Spotify. So if you use Spotify, you can watch these shows. The video version is up there, and you can watch and go back through season 2 because this is the first episode of season 3. We're starting off fresh, starting out the new year, and this is the first anime that we're checking out. If you want, you can go to Anime Hour Pod at Anime Hour Pod, and that's just the VODs of these videos uploaded. If you want to just subscribe there to that YouTube channel, you can do that. But yeah, next week, Nier Automata, episode 5 through 8. Watch that, and we'll talk about it next week. Oh my god, it did the thing again. Don't pay attention to this. I don't know why it doesn't stay. Ugh. We have
Bye,
a new
season
one.
2.
Goodbye, season
Microwave.
2. It's over. Anyways, talk to you later. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.